What's going on, everyone? Welcome to After Dark, where we relive the movies that started it all. This is Steven from After Hours Video, and tonight we're stepping back into the glow of VHS screens and the hum of late night rentals. I'm joined by Garrett from Born2BeRad and Mel from My Killer Podcast. What's going on, guys?
Woo-hoo.
What's up, man? Glad to be here, dude.
Hell yeah. And together, we're actually going to be diving into the aisles of video store horror, from the staples that haunted shelves to the hidden gems that scared, thrilled, and stayed with us long after the tape stopped spinning. So before we get started, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Grab your snacks, pour a drink, and settle in. We're about to rewind to a time when horror lived on tape, memories were made in the VHS aisle, and every cover promised something unforgettable. All right, you guys ready to dive in?
And lead the way, dude.
So I just kind of wanted to open it up with you guys. Kind of had some intro questions that I always like to do. And I want to ask, like, what's the first horror movie you guys remember renting from the video store?
Oh, no.
Taking it way back.
Renting, huh?
I have no idea. Honestly.
I don't either, to be honest. I saw a lot of my movies either directly from television, like recorded them off TV that way, or my uncle giving me just a VHS that he had. So those are the two main ways that I remember. And like my parents were kind of strict, so like they weren't really. I wasn't renting a lot of those like as a kid. So I mean, it would have had to have been something that I was renting like when I was driving and stuff like that, but I really don't recall would have been the first one I would have rented. But obviously the nostalgia of the video store aisle, especially in that horror section, you know, it has stuck with me forever.
100%. I feel like the first couple titles that I initially got into, and I felt like that this is more gateway, but a lot of the Jaws and Jaws sequels.
Ooh, that actually, you know what, that I could say Jaws 2 maybe then.
Yes,
because that was that my mom rented that for me.
Okay.
And, they didn't have part 1, so she got us part 2, and that was the first one I'd ever seen. So that could probably be my answer.
I feel like Jaws 2 is just as good, right?
Yeah.
So how much did the cover art or VHS box influence your decision to grab a tape, like when you were casually browsing?
All of it. Everything.
100%.
It's definitely something that I feel like is lacking, especially with either the movie posters or even, you know, obviously to a different extent, you know, when you're can't rent things anymore. But I would say like when you're picking up like a 4K or Blu-ray, it just feels like there's a little bit of a disconnect in the amount of effort that goes into it. So what do you guys remember about the video store culture that made certain movies feel like events to watch?
Well, I mean, going back to what you just said about, you know, the cover art and how important that was, it really was. And I think that is something that we are definitely lacking now. And I think we've been lacking it for quite a while when it comes to horror. You know, especially when it comes to, you know, obviously we don't have the video store anymore, but, you know, now it's like with social media, everything is bought just on, you know, hearsay or a FOMO post or somebody posting and they got it. But never does it really have to do with what is this about. And, you know, just I'm just looking at what's around me. It looks like case in point, you know, I just got this Texas Chainsaw Arrow in today. Right. So you look at this and imagine being at the store and looking at the shelf and being a kid or a teenager being like, oh, what is this? And you look at it and like all you see is a very dark image of a guy like sewing on a sewing machine back there. Right. Like, and then when you turn it around, there's nothing on here. Right. So, you know, that was such a huge deal, you know, for me as a kid. You know, and I'm trying to see if I have any VHS on me, but like, you know, I have this, but like, look at this image right here. Like this to me would have been something that I would have. Yeah, like I mean, you see that on the shelf, and you're like, "What the hell is this?" That is wild that we all have
Rumpelstiltskin game rise up.
I have like 40 VHSs on the floor, so if you guys want to see something,
but I mean, then you know, look at the back, right? Like on the back, you turn it around, you're like looking at pictures, and you're like, "Wow, what could this be?" Where, you know, now like something like this, unless you know what this movie is, this does nothing for you, you know, as far as gaining interest in what this could be. And I think that's a huge problem. And I actually have said this recently is I actually think the artwork on a lot of these physical media labels now, is even the boutique ones, have gotten so much worse Like if you look at like, I know there might be a backstory with this, but I mean, what's that one with Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman that Criterion's doing? That artwork looks like ass. I mean, second sight artwork, hot dude, their artwork blows, dude. It's terrible. Look at any of those big additions on those artworks, especially the newer ones. It's like that. What's the one that just came out with the girl with the dog? Why is that the picture on the front? It's strange to me. Like this
girl with a dog.
Yeah, what is it called there? The overseas movie that I don't want to spoil it. They just put out. It's got the little girl and the dog on the front.
Oh, When Evil Lurks.
Yeah, like that does
I
nothing.
haven't seen
That's
it.
a weird. I mean, that's a great movie, and I understand why it's on there. But to me, that image or whatever, it's like, come on, this is all we can do here. Like just a drawing of a girl with it. Like it doesn't. I don't know. I'm actually very picky on the artwork now. I feel like it's really lacking. I don't know if a lot of these companies just don't want to pay real good artists anymore, but it's not. To me, it's not good at all.
Well, and I think you make a good point though, because more often than not, I mean, we're referring to Rumpelstiltskin, right, as an example, but the amount of effort I feel like it took back then to really like entice people like to check out these movies or rent them or buy them or whatever the case was. Because I mean, I just remember like how iconic this cover was, and it just scared the shit out of me. Like I didn't know what it was about, but it was enough to make me curious and want to actually check it out. So yeah, it's unfortunate because I just don't really think that we get a lot of that, like that effort that gets put into these releases, or even sometimes with boutique releases as well. Um,
Mhm.
Now, did you guys ever like sneak in a late night viewing of a horror VHS with friends, or like what did you have experiences like that where you kind of had to keep something low key that you wanted to watch, to get it in the house?
I just had that stuff in the house all the time.
Oh, okay. You're very fortunate then.
Well, I mean, I would have sleepovers and I'd have friends over and we would watch some horror movies. And like at the time, it was like cool and they were down, and then they'd go home and tell their parents and I'd get in trouble.
No.
Because their parents weren't okay with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough because I feel like I always remember it was like very dependent on like what parents would allow you to watch certain movies. Like if you were staying the night over like a friend's house, like there was always that one family that you'd be able to get anything by them from what I remember at least. But I wanted to kick this off. So I know we had a number of different movies that we wanted to discuss tonight. So I wanted to hit it off with The Dentist.
Ooh.
So video store
You're
staple.
gonna get us both jealous with all these polls tonight on this VHS you got here,
I
man.
know. I don't even have that one.
So did you guys see this early on back when you were getting into horror, or was it a little bit later for you guys? Or
I actually saw that one later, to be honest.
I think I was definitely a teenager in my 20s. I think the first time I ever saw that was probably on DVD, I think.
okay.
So it was, I guess, probably a little bit later. Dr. Giggles, on the other hand, was different. I saw that
one. Dr. Giggles, too. I saw that one when I was young. That was a VHS store.
For sure.
Rental, for sure.
Or The Stepfather. I felt like it was all kind of like in a very similar vein. I feel like I always associate those few movies together. Now, what was your guys' first reaction to finally sitting down and watching The Dentist? Did it live up to the cover art, for said release when you guys checked it out?
Yeah, I always thought it was really good. I think it's still kind of almost underrated, and
For sure.
it's on the sequel. And I never had any issues with The Dentist personally. My father did. So watching that movie again, I was like, I can see why he's so scared of this. Of this dentist, But for me, I wasn't. But I mean that movie's effective because people are afraid of the dentist. It's kind of a normal thing. And I think that just kind of is one of those movies that, it hits that fear that a lot of people have. And I think just kind of turns it up a little bit. So I can definitely appreciate it. I think that it's actually really cool that has a movie like that because of, what people think of when they think of going to the dentist. So
it's like their worst case scenario, like
100%.
what could happen. Now, obviously body horror is a big part of the movie. So especially when it taps into like for some real dental fears, Do you think that that's part of the reason why you guys think it stuck for people, like when they saw the movie?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. There was a few scenes where I'm just like, anything with teeth, something about that just like freaks me
See?
out. Like the
They knew what they were
sounds.
doing, man. Look, see
Oh,
that?
yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
definitely body horror at its finest.
100%. Anything Yuzna is always good for me.
100%. Now, would you guys call The Dentist a hidden gem of the video store era or more of a late night curiosity?
Ooh, that's a good little term there.
Hmm.
Man,
Probably a late night curiosity.
I would probably say the same because I think if you like, I always for some reason categorize that. I've always put that with Giggles.
Hmm.
I think if you had them both sitting on the shelf, I feel like Giggles would have been the one from a video store aspect that more people would have
Hmm.
snagged.
Okay.
But I do think that out of the two, I think that The Dentist is probably more overlooked personally than something like
It's
Giggles
probably more
was.
gnarly too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Giggles is kind of more cheesy be fun, which is
Right.
more video store era, whereas The Dentist it's kind of like,
Traumatizing.
yeah, it's more gnarly, dude.
Yeah.
And the cover
What?
doesn't do it justice at all. You look at the cover and you're like, oh, okay, this might be interesting. And then you watch it and you're traumatized forever.
Did you guys pick up that Vestron double pack when that
Of
came out?
course.
Okay.
Of
Absolutely.
course.
Okay.
Oh,
Because I
yeah.
remember watching those back to back, and after that, I'm like, I think I'm good on going to the dentist for a little bit.
You
Now,
want to sing it? I'll be your dad.
Oh my god, yes! My favorite.
so I know you guys, and we were just talking about it. So obviously, the movie spawned a sequel. Do you guys think that that was deserved, or was, I guess, one trip to the chair enough?
I'll be quite honest. I have a tough time even remembering what the sequel is. Like,
I
I
agree.
don't recall it at all.
I
Which I
don't
think is
remember it being bad
probably
though.
a good thing that I maybe really need to go back and watch it because I really don't recall like what the sequel's about, if it's how different it is. And sometimes with those movies they try to take it in a little bit of a different direction. I don't even remember at all.
Yeah, that I don't think that with that film that left a lasting impression on me the same way. I feel like the first one did. The first one I feel like is so iconic. Um, but that's all I got for the dentist. So Mel, did you have one that you wanted to plug, or one that you recall that you really liked a lot growing up?
One of my special stack.
Yeah.
Okay. So I just pulled some of the movies that I rented all the time as a
Okay.
kid. And Nightbreed was one of the
Oh,
ones. And
the gem.
mainly because of the cover, obviously, is what hooked me. But then after watching it, all of the fun creatures is what kept me coming back. As a kid, you love the fun creatures.
Damn, those are
Absolutely.
2 VHS you guys just showed that I do not have in my
Yeah.
shit.
But yeah, Nightbreed. I don't know why. It's just it's iconic, and the story is interesting about this man and all of these creatures of the night. And yeah, the cover.
Very, very good choice.
Yeah, 100%.
Garrett, do you have any that you wanted to dive into?
Oof. Let me see. I didn't bring anything over here. Let's see what I got available.
You gotta have stacks and stacks.
I mean, I do. I don't have any. I have some over there on the shelf, but hold on. I could probably find some. Let's see.
Underachiever.
Oh, Frankenhooker.
There you go.
That's a great choice.
So this
Jeez, Garrett.
100.
Wait,
Just 0 to 100.
I know.
like-
My God, I thought we were working our way up to that.
100% Frankenhooker because I can remember this still as clear as day. I was probably maybe a junior in high school, I'm going to say, and my buddy Scott, his parents were divorced. The story's
Okay.
going to get interesting, but his dad used to take him like anywhere on the weekends. He basically would say, "Where do you want to go?" And then he would just basically boss his dad around for the day. That was kind of like their thing. And it was always like, go get Garrett. And then he'd come to my house every Saturday. I'd hop in the car And then he would just tell his dad where he wanted to bring us. It would be like, bring us to Boston. And then we'd go to Boston and he'd be like, you know, we want to go to the movie store. We want to go to this concert. We
Yeah.
want to do this. And we literally like just wherever, like all these adventures. And this one night we were at, he was like, oh, let's go rent a movie. Take us to movie galleries. So we went to movie gallery and we saw this thing on the shelf. And that's the first time I'd ever heard of it. And I turned it around and I see the back and I'm like just mind blown at this Frankenhooker. Like I was like, this is wild. Like, what is this? So him and I rented it. He's like, Dad, rent us this, you know? So he rented it for us. Then we went back to his house and watched it. And like, we had a freaking ball with this movie. Like I fell in love with it since that day that we watched it in high school. And it's always been a favorite of mine, but 100% when it comes to how I found out about this was literally scrolling the shelves of a movie gallery with my buddy on like a Saturday night.
Yeah.
As teenagers and just seeing the name alone and reading the back. And it was like this won me completely over. And I've been a huge fan ever since.
Now, do you consider that one of your, like, would you consider that your favorite, oh my gosh.
Henenlotter movie?
Yeah, Henenlotter. I can't talk. Oh my God.
You know what? I did a ranking on my channel. I do think that was probably number one, I think.
Okay.
I'm almost positive it had to have been probably. Basket Case would have been close, but
That's what I was gonna say. I think that's
Yeah.
that's always the one I come back to.
But I'm pretty sure Frankenhooker was the one for me.
Hell yeah, that's a great choice. So moving right along, we've got Return of the Living Dead,
Yes.
and I feel like this will make sense a little bit later on. But so for you guys, do you guys remember the first time you saw Return of the Living Dead on the shelf, or did the cover immediately catch your guys' eye?
I think that's one of those movies where the cover is what catches everyone's eye.
For sure.
It's that artwork is amazing.
Yeah, immediately. That artwork. I can remember seeing that for the first time. And there's actually another one on here we're going to, I think, talk about tonight that is the same way. But so my mother worked at a pharmacy when I was a kid. So there was a lot of times when I was really young that she would bring me in for like, maybe she had to go in for a minute or whatever. And she'd be like, oh, sit over here. And they used to have a video store, like they used to have a VHS section like at this pharmacy. And I think they were on like the spinner racks, kind of like you have over there, but just bunches of them. And, there's a couple movies I remember seeing there for the first time, and that was one. And seeing that image for the first time, I was like, oh my God, what is this? There's like skeletons on here, and I was really young.
Punk rock
but I didn't get to see that movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Teen angst.
Yeah, like I didn't get to see that movie until I was like, older, because then I ended up renting it or buying it, whatever, when I got a little bit older. But, it was one of those movies where like it lived up to my expectations as far as how much I loved it, but I feel like it wasn't what I was expecting based on this cover. Like as a kid, like what I built this up to be wasn't what I got. Like I wasn't sure what it was. I was expecting like skeletons with leather jackets and mohawks and stuff. Like that's what I was expecting. And obviously it was one that I completely fell in love with after that. I mean, I actually have this right here, so I was to throw it up, but I just participated in a screening
that's
Born
right.
Living Dead that I hosted in Salem, Mass. And seeing that, it was the first time I'd ever seen it on the big screen, and it was a blast, and so that's another one that's always stayed with me. But it really was the video store that introduced me, or at least opened my eyes to that image, which I do think was a perfect pick for tonight because it's so iconic. And I think any kid of any age walks by that on the shelf and it's an instant, stare of the eyes. And I think that, to be honest, like that's a whole image right there that just proves that like we don't have that same effect anymore with some of the artwork that's coming out. It's like your mind just wanders of like, what the hell could this be? Like, this is insane,
I remember before I saw it, I thought that it was gonna be more in line with like the Romero trilogy. And I was not that I was disappointed, it just was a very different tone compared to, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, all that. And this is definitely a movie that was definitely a video store staple for me, definitely grew on me as time went on. And now obviously I have a really deep appreciation for the movie. But speaking of which, how effective do you guys think the zombies with essentially a mind of their own in a way twist is compared to the traditional Romero style zombies? Do you guys have a preference between the two?
I like it in its own way. It's cheesy. It's B. It depends on how you like your horror, if you like it more realistic or you like it more fun. I tend to like my horror more fun.
Yeah.
I prefer, I think, like the Romero zombies. I think I just prefer that as like Dawn of the Dead, stuff like that. But I do appreciate this, and they do feel a little more threatening
Yes.
than they like in this one. You know, like they feel more threatening when they're running at you and jumping on you. Where in Dawn, it's cool, but at the same time, it's a lot less threatening because it's like, all right, unless there's like 1,000 of these things here, like I can get away, or I can punch this thing in the face and just run. Like, I mean, they weren't really that
That's fair.
aggressive, and I think as cool as it was, at the same time, I think the intensity of the Return of the Living Dead ones and the fact that they can like, communicate and whatnot, I think makes it scary when they're telling them, "Hey, bring more cops" or whatever, and
Yeah.
they show up, bring more
I love
paramedics,
that.
and all this stuff.
Bring
Yeah, I
more
think that's just
cops.
cool. But yeah, I mean, as a young kid seeing this on the video store shelf, mind blown. Watch this for the first time as a teenager and seeing Trash dancing naked in the graveyard, mind blown again.
Oh yeah.
So I mean,
I think
this thing is just
Oh,
kind of
God.
I definitely saw that a lot earlier than I probably should have, but yeah, no, it's definitely one that I feel like, especially around, I always associate it now with like around 4th of July and just the amount of love that gets, like the day before, basically leading up to it. So that part's really cool. But was there like any particular scene or zombie death that like stuck with you guys after seeing it?
Trash in the cemetery. That's all.
He's
That's all I
like,
can
literally,
remember.
that's all I remember.
That's all I remember.
That's
That's
all I
okay.
remember.
Now, do you guys think that the special effects and practical makeup, do you guys still feel like that holds up today compared to like what we have now?
I think so. Well, I mean, considering the type of movie that it is, I think it does. It's fine.
Yeah.
It works for me.
Same.
And then did you guys feel like I guess maybe within your friend circle, was this considered like a must rent? Or did you feel like that this was more of like a hidden gem that you would discover on the shelves, like if you're at a video store?
I was the only one in my friend circle watching these kind of movies.
Fair.
This was one of my momster's favorite movies, so we just kind of watched it all the time.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
It's funny because I think between friends it was really a hit, but my uncle's the one who got me into horror movies, and it was never one he ever brought up for me to recommend. Like, he never said like, "Hey, here's one of the best." Like, it just never happened. So I don't know where he puts this. I think this probably is a little bit more, or is a little bit too.
This is too fun for him.
Yeah, like I do. I think like I think that's the problem,
Mel's throwing
100%.
shade, man.
Yeah,
this was not
like,
bleak enough for the uncle.
Yeah,
okay?
he never once said you got to watch Return of the Living Dead. He was like, watch Dawn of the Dead, Hills Have Eyes, Last House on the Left, Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
He's like, you need to watch I Spit on Your Grave.
What he was telling me to watch. This
these
never
fun
left
ones.
his mouth. Yeah,
There's no fun in any of that. My God.
That's what he's telling a little teenage Garrett when I was 17 to watch these, and then tell me how much you love horror. Maybe I think he was just trying to.
Can we just appreciate that Garrett is the way that he is today? Okay?
I was going to say, all things considered,
he grew up watching.
You came out on the other side at least.
It's hard to make my own decisions.
And the last thing that I wanted to mention for this film is, why do you guys think that Return of the Living Dead has remained such a cult classic?
Trash in the cemetery.
Jesus.
I think because of the blend, man, between the effects, the zombies, and I think the touch of humor and how intense and gory and cool this is. I think it's just a cool movie. I think that's really what it is, and I think it really does blend the horror and comedy really well. That I think it's one of those movies that's gonna live on forever as one of the best, because they just knew how to kind of do that and make it all work. Sometimes it doesn't work, but
the cover art, all of it.
Yeah,
it was kind of like a perfect storm.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And when you go back to this time, I feel like it's the perfect blend of horror and comedy. And I think that line is so hard to like really balance. I can only think of like maybe a handful of others, like Texas Chainsaw 2. I know that there's a few others I'm blanking on right now, but it's just, I don't know. I'm very picky about those type of movies. But
Mhm.
now, Mel, do you have other ones you want to throw in the mix?
Well, I have another one that is maybe a perfect blend of humor.
Army of Darkness.
Mm.
Army of
Love it.
Darkness.
So
So
good.
this is another one where the cover absolutely grabs you, and then you watch it not knowing what you're in for. This one toes the line of a little more humor than anything, but the more I watch this, the more smart I think this movie really is. Um, when it comes to blending the horror and the humor, you think it's more comedy and slapstick and silly, but it really is quite an effective horror movie as well.
For sure.
Now that I'm an adult and I watch it. When I was a kid, it
Yep.
was just funny. Um, but it's such a classic, iconic, great movie.
It's a great choice.
Thank you.
Garrett, do you have any
Do you
recommendations?
have any great choices, Garrett?
I love Army of Darkness. I mean, 100%. And I have a story with that one. It was the first time I ever saw that image. It blew me away. I was looking through my old wrestling magazines as a kid, and turned the page and I saw that image and they were promoting the movie coming out. I'm like, what the hell is this? You see this Jack dude with like a shotgun, this girl like on his leg, and all these like creatures and stuff. I was like, this is insane.
It's like right up your alley.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. I was probably like 12 years old or whatever, or 10 years old when I saw it for the first time. And I was like, this looks sick. But, then it kind of just went away. I never saw it again. And then when I got older and started to get into this stuff and found out about Evil Dead, and then, I saw that and I'm like, oh, there's that movie. And then I like
Yep.
put it on and I was like, it's the same guy. Like, I didn't realize, it was the same, it was even connected at all. Because I only knew it as Army of Darkness from that first image I saw in a wrestling magazine back in the day. So once I found out it was included in this Evil Dead story, I loved it even more. So definitely a good pick. And I think it really does blend that comedy and horror really,
For
really
sure.
well.
Now, did you guys see the first couple Evil Dead movies before you saw Army of Darkness? Like, did you guys see them in order?
I went 2, 1, 3.
Okay.
That's the way I saw them.
I don't remember if I saw 1 or 2 first, to be honest, because it was so long ago and those movies are so similar. I'm not really sure. I could have saw 2 first. I could have saw 1 first. I don't remember, but I know that I saw this one after those.
I just remember, like, this is when I was a teenager, but I just remember seeing obviously Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2, and they're obviously very iconic. But it took me a while to really warm up to more of the comedy side of it, just because Evil Dead, the first one, I absolutely fell in love with, and then 2 obviously just feels like it's like improved upon essentially. And then I don't know, but like now I can, like, all these years later, like I can go back and actually appreciate it. So I think that part about it's really cool. Um, Now I'm sure you guys are all too familiar with this film, but it seems pretty fitting given the time of year. Got Sleepaway Camp.
Oh, of course.
Oh,
It's a
yes.
great VHS you got there, pal.
Yeah, man. I
We're over here like
I know. um so was this early on for you guys when you first found this movie, or did it take you like getting a little bit more seasoned in horror to discover this one?
it was very early on when I saw all the Sleepaway Camp movies, but I watched 2 and 3 way more. I think I saw the first one like maybe once or twice and then
Mhm.
just kind of put it to bed. And then 2 and 3 I watched all the time. I loved them. They're still my
So
favorite.
good.
They're so like B horror. Like that's just my thing is B horror. I just love that so much. So those were my favorites. And it was like years and years later that I went back and revisited the first one and was shocked all over again with the ending scene.
It's something.
Yeah, it's just that first one is just night and day to the other two.
Was it jarring compared to obviously the second and third one are so different in tone?
Yeah. It's just I still am just not sure where I stand with the first one. Like I can enjoy it fine, but they're just not comparable to me.
Garrett, what about you?
I love the original Sleepaway Camp.
Oh yeah.
I rented it first time as a teenager, and I didn't really know anything about it. Like I was really heavily getting into like camp slashers and slashers in general, and I saw that on the shelf, and I was like, oh man, like this looks like it's gonna be sick. Summer camp slasher, like this is
Yep.
great. I really went into it completely blind at the time, and I can remember getting to that ending and being like my jaw was on the floor. Like I wasn't expecting this at all. And especially the way they did it too was just it's been stuck in my head ever since, with the mouth and they start panning back and you
Mhm.
see the body, and I was like, holy
The
shit.
animalistic sounds.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So what I did was I was so like shocked by what I saw. Right. So I told my brother, and my brother is a couple of years younger than me. So at that time, when I saw this for the first time, I could have been maybe 17, 18 years old. He would have been like 15 or something. And I can remember handing him the tape that I rented. I was like, dude, you got to watch this. So then like that next night, he like went in his room and put it on and watched it. And he gets up and he's coming out of his room, and I can remember like being in the bathroom, and I'm like, "Did you finish it?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "What'd you think?" He's like, "Weird." And then he like walked really fast in his room, like he didn't even want to talk about it. He just looked at me. He's like, "It was weird," and like kept walking.
I
Goes
just
back, hands me the tape. Like we've never had a discussion about it, like about what he just saw.
it's such a
Traumatized him for
I
life.
100%
Yeah.
think it did.
It's definitely, I mean, out of all the horror movies I've seen, I don't think that there's any one that like for an ending comes close to this. And it's just so, I just remember being so besides myself after I got done because I'm just trying to process what exactly I just watched, I guess. It was not at all what I was expecting, especially like when you have such a killer cover art, to the movie, and you're at least I thought I was getting something completely different. And yeah, I don't know. It was first time watch was definitely interesting.
Mhm.
Now, how much of the summer camp horror concept enticed you compared to other slashers at the time, or maybe from that era?
100%, man. I was obsessed with Friday the 13th. So after that, it was like all systems go on summer camp. And summer camp is an interesting concept for me because it was always something I never did but wanted to do, like go to a summer camp. Like I think at the time, if my mom would have sent me to a summer camp, I would have freaked out and been like, I hate you, I don't want to go. Like I probably didn't like it. But now as like I'm older, I'm like, oh my God, that looks like the funnest shit ever. And like same thing when I was a teenager and watched it for the first time, like Friday the 13th and all those. I was like, oh man, going to a summer camp would have been the best. And being a big fan of things like Salute Your Shorts
Yeah.
and all those things too. It's just there's something about being at a summer camp that just totally intrigues me to a point that if there was an adult summer camp that we could go to like tomorrow, I would go there. Yeah, like
Garrett,
100%.
it's never too late.
I would 100% do it. Like if we can rent out a camp and do like a content creator like week meetup for a week
Oh
or
my
whatever, and
God.
Oh my
fish and go in
god.
cabins and eat.
You know
junk
how
food
wild
by
that
a
would be?
fire and shit. Like I would be there in a heartbeat. Like I would love it. Like sleeping in some cabins and stuff. I mean, I
Oh.
just think it would be super, super killer.
Oh my gosh.
Too much shenanigans going on.
it'd be getting too rowdy, man.
Yeah, I do not see this being like, oh, we're eating popcorn in our cabin. No, that's not happening.
Yeah.
It's all good. Deep in the woods, no one knows anything.
Yeah, exactly. Now, do you remember the first time you saw Sleepaway Camp on the shelf? Like, was it the cover art that immediately grabbed your guys' attention? Or was there something else, like maybe the tagline or anything like that?
Cover art for me, and I think it might have been. I might have noticed it probably the day I rented it. I don't
Mhm.
remember if it was one I saw young, like, and I like it stuck with me. But I just remember seeing that with the tennis shoe and being like, "Oh, I got to get this." And that was probably when I was 16 or I don't know, 17 maybe when I rented it.
Okay.
That was probably the first time I remember seeing that artwork.
I think for me, I don't remember when I even saw the artwork. So I think it must have been my momster that rented it.
Hell yeah. Now, were there certain kill scenes or moments that stuck with you the most?
The weird moments mostly. The ending,
The end.
Yeah.
the creepy cook
Seared
when he
in your
says-
memory.
The cook, yeah.
Yeah, when he says baldies, that stuck with me quite a bit.
Blah.
I was like, what the hell? Like, it's the most random line ever. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Why would they even that's brutal to say something like that?
It's
And then the
so
beginning with
uncomfortable.
the mother or the aunt,
Yeah,
you're a
the
boy
aunt.
now, Mom, the son I was at or whatever, like Angela, like that was always weird to me because
Yeah.
I was like, what
Mhm.
is going on here? It's like a weird play, like it felt awkward, you know. So those are the things that really stuck with me as far as the kills and stuff. The one that really stuck with me obviously was the cook with the hot water or whatever when that burned them and all the burns.
Yep.
And then I remember as I get older and started to watch this thing on like Blu-ray and stuff, you realize that they had to do all these like reshoots where the cop had like a painted on mustaches in his casting, like so like there's a lot. And obviously the jacked like counselor with like the little shorts, he always stood out to me,
but
so
yeah.
Why?
it's kind of funny. Just have this counselor guy, like this
I know.
huge jack dude with like a tight shirt and little
With tiny
shorts.
shorts?
Yeah, it's just always kind of thought it was funny.
I love that they were more worried about the camp getting shut down than like dealing with the ongoing problems that you've got like a cook that's basically like, I don't know, he's into kids or something. I don't know. The
Yeah.
comments he would
Perv.
make, I'm just like, dude, this is like this
And
would
when
not
he said that
fly.
line too, he had like the toothpick, like he was kind of a badass, and everybody's looking at him like he's just like so gross. He thought he was like saying something cool, and everybody's like, "What the fuck's wrong with this guy?"
How long has this been going on for?
Yeah, Mel likes it because the camp director's name was Mel, so I think she really liked that part.
Oh yeah, that's my favorite.
That's me.
I love it.
So how do you guys feel like the setting of a summer camp contributes to like the atmosphere and the horror that they built in this movie? Do you think it enhances it?
I am not into summer camp movies at all, so it does nothing for me.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Wild, dude. That makes no sense to me. That was when you're thrown in
The
like.
fact that these movies take place in a summer camp, I care none for
Oh
that.
my god.
I mean, it doesn't
Why aren't
make
there
or
enough
break the
cornfield
movies for
slashers?
me.
There's not enough cornfield slashers.
Cornfield slashers.
Where are my cornfield slashers? Come on, people.
It's a missed opportunity.
I
You
feel
got
like there are
signs
hidden
clowning
gems
the
to be
cornfield,
made
what else?
here.
Yeah.
And they could cast me.
Cornfield slashers. New subgenre.
No, the summer camp doesn't make or break movies for me, but they're just not my favorite subgenre. I don't know.
That's fair.
I don't love them like Garrett loves them.
Listen, don't worry, Garrett.
I've been to a
I'm right
summer
there with ya.
camp and it wasn't that fun. So I'm
It
just
wasn't a good time.
No, I went for a week. It was like an overnight in cabins. It's nothing like you see in the movies. It's like you're in school.
Killing
you have
his
to walk.
dreams.
You have to walk single file to the stuff.
No,
you
that
gotta
wasn't
go
a summer camp. That was summer school that you were at. That was the problem. That's why it wasn't a summer camp. You had to
We
go to
did
summer
like
school.
the canoeing and all of the you did all the things that they do in the movies. It's just they don't just like let you run around and be wild like they show.
It's very
in the
structured.
movies. It's very structured.
Yeah.
Like they have to take care of you, and if something happens to you, it's on them. You know what I mean?
Garrett just wants to free roam.
I know.
Yeah.
He just wants to believe like all this fun stuff happens, and it's not.
I just want to find all the Glazers and stuff hanging around.
Just watch out for the creepy cooks.
Yeah, those
Right?
Now, did you guys for obviously the ending is so iconic, but did you guys hear rumors about it before seeing it, or like anyone in your circle talk about it at all?
No.
Nope.
Okay. I had
I'm
one friend that
excited.
like hyped it up so much. Didn't tell me what happened, obviously, but never in my wildest dreams would I've ever guessed that that's what we would have gotten. So
I feel like this is the one ending that people could hype up and it would not like ruin it. You know what I mean?
no, not at all. And then lastly, how would you guys consider Sleepaway? Like, where does this stack up to early 80s slashers like Friday the 13th or Prom Night, for example?
I think it's better than Prom Night.
I think it's better than both of them.
Wow.
Okay. I respect that. Damn.
I know she has this beef with Jason. I don't really understand what it's all about.
He's boring.
Oh my god. All right. We got to wrap this up, man. Just kidding. Totally kidding.
Hot takes.
Yeah. All right. You guys have any that you want to throw into the mix? Any video store staples? Oh, look at you, man.
Ooh, I mean, that image right there is uh-oh, you got it? Boom.
Hold on. There we
Uh-oh.
go. There we go.
Woo! Look at that.
Look at
You stole one of my skulls, didn't you? So yeah, I did a video about this, and you know, the backstory of this for me is kind of a crazy one. So this was the first Evil Dead that I'd ever seen. This was really when I started getting into collecting
Okay.
this VHS here. My uncle was getting me into horror, and I saw this at a Suncoast, and I was like, holy shit, this is creepy. So I ended up picking it up and watching it for the first time. And this is another one that I think blends that comedy and horror so well.
Yes.
And I fell so in love with this movie. I didn't know much about anything when it comes to Evil Dead. But I remember saying to my uncle, I got Evil Dead. It's so good. He's like, oh, Evil Dead's great. But he thought I was talking about the first one. I didn't know,
Oh.
you know. So what happened was I remember showing my brother this again, and he loved it too. So him and I used to watch it like all the time. And he had a friend come over, and he was telling his friend about it. He's like, I've never seen anything like this before. This guy, he cuts his hand off and puts a chain. Like, he's like, so his friend's like, oh my God, can I borrow this? So my brother's like, yeah, sure. So he tells me, like, I let my friend Brian borrow. I'm like, what the heck, man? So then we get a phone call a couple days later from the mom, talk to my mom, and basically say, you know, how dare you let
Oh my
my
God.
son watch that kind of stuff. And she destroyed the VHS tape when she caught him watching it and totally like smashed it and threw it away. And then he told her that it was mine. So then she felt guilty afterwards because she literally like bashed this thing to bits and threw it in the trash. And he's like, that's not mine. Like, I didn't buy that. That's Garrett's. And so then she called my house and talked to my mom about it. And then she ended up being like, I'll replace it.
Oh.
And she came, and so he came back with this.
Oh.
So this was the first one, and that's what she bought me. She bought me this exact tape right here. And
That's sick.
Or she got it somehow. I assume she bought it. But he gave this to me, and I was like, oh, this is different. So then I was like, okay, and I put it in and realized I'm like, then I'm like watching it, and I'm like, oh yeah, it's kind of the same at the beginning, but wait a minute, this isn't the same. It's because it's almost like a repeat of the two movies, but seeing part two first, then go back to this one. It really took me back because it was like, it felt like I was watching the same movie over again halfway through it, and then it kind of changed up. But that stemmed my love for these movies was almost like seeing the first one was almost by accident.
That's
because
crazy.
of that whole situation. So yeah, I did a full video like talking about that story and completion, but it is kind of a wild story on how I was introduced to those movies. But this is the one that I saw on the shelf at Suncoast Video that I had to buy right then and there.
That cover is like, it's just so iconic, and that's what I was going to ask you actually about this movie is, for you guys, is it the cover, the title, any like word of mouth buzz that maybe your friends talked about this movie? Like, what kind of drew you into it?
Well, this one is the cover for sure.
Yeah,
the skeleton with the eyeballs.
Now, me and Mel did a video on my channel about VHS tapes where the cover actually lied. Like, it basically, a lot of these movies, you look at the cover, and when you bought it and brought it home, you were like, wait, that's not kind of what I was expecting. I don't think we talked about this one, but I kind of feel this would have fit perfect in that category. I mean, I don't know if this is one we mentioned at all that day.
We might have. If we were going to do a second one, this was going to be on there.
Yeah, because you see this, you bring it home, and I mean, it's nothing to do with that image at all.
Mm-mm.
So, but that would be kind of a cool one to
though.
do. That was on the list, yeah.
Oh, look at you. Now, how do you guys feel like, obviously there's outrageous gore that's in this movie, but it's also contrasted by slapstick humor. How do you feel like that affects like the viewing experience? Especially if you compare it to the first Evil Dead. I mean, it's very different compared to the first one.
I love it. I think that's what makes these movies stand out, is they're so gory. There's certain parts that are so scary and horrifying, but then you throw these like really awkward slapstick moments in there. That's what I love about them. It makes them different.
For sure.
I agree. Now it's hard though. You asked me which one I like better. If you had asked me, it's hard for me to even say because I feel like they're the same but very different. I think I would have to probably say two, just because of the uptick in budget. I think I
Mhm.
would have to say that did it for me. And as much as this did have comedic elements that I do appreciate, I also think that the way they did it was smart because I like horror comedy, but it has to be the right amount. Like I can't
Agreed.
watch a movie that's horror that the comedy's too off the charts because then I just find it stupid. So if it's like this good blend, it works really well for me. And I think with this, it was comedic, but it was almost like it started to become comedic as he started really like flipping out. Like he starts like having
Like, becoming
delusions.
unhinged.
Yeah. So then
Yep.
like when the comedy hits, you're almost kind of like it makes more sense because he's like losing his fucking mind now. And
Mhm.
that's where the comedy starts coming in, where it's like he's just totally bonkers, and I think that's why it worked so well for me, is because the way they did it, it didn't start off comedic. It like fed
No, not
into
at
that as
all.
the movie progressed, and when things started to get crazier, he became a little bit more bonkers. And I think that's why it really worked for me. And you watch all these movies, and then the real comedy aspect, I think, goes into Army. And it's
Yes.
funny how
Yep.
these kind of go. If you watch 1 through 3, it kind of transitions into that, more horror to comedy as it gets going. And I just think as a whole, you take those 3 movies, fantastic franchise overall.
I have to say, I mean, really as a whole, it's almost like a perfect trilogy. You get
100.
everything in it, right? And I feel like, especially with Evil Dead, I heard someone describe it as it's almost like a live action Simpsons episode with like the level of like humor and like the slapstick like comedy effect that it has in it. So I thought when they mentioned that, I'm like, huh, I never really thought about it like that. But especially with like Sam Raimi being, behind the camera for all these movies, he's actually from the city that's about Royal Oak is about like 20 minutes from where I live. So I remember gravitating towards him and like obviously Bruce Campbell being that they're like somewhat local. But I always thought that bit about them was like really interesting.
Mhm.
Um, Now, were there like certain moments that truly surprised you guys, even regardless if you like knew about the film beforehand?
The hand, when he had to cut his own hand off, and that thing had a mind of its own, and it's running around the house. That alone,
Yeah.
that's the one that stuck with me. And then obviously the chainsaw hand and stuff like that stuck with me too. I also thought like when he was kind of losing it in the deer on the wall
Oh,
and stuff like that.
yeah.
Like that those really stuck with me as well. So yeah, seeing this for the first time as a teenager just freaking blew me away. Like
Just the
I've never
practical
seen anything
effects
like
in
it.
Agreed.
general were really great.
So good, yeah.
Yes. Um, Now I know we talked about like the VHS cover, like the tagline that came with it. Did it make it feel like this movie was like supposed to be like forbidden or more of like a must watch in the horror section?
I feel like a lot of these horror movies to me felt forbidden, and I think it was just because I was grown up that way. Like my
Same.
mom was very heavily into like making sure I wasn't watching this stuff, and my uncle was the one
And
that
here
was
we
trying
are.
to get me to watch this stuff, and it almost felt like, he was the cool uncle because he was trying to get me to do stuff that my mom didn't want me to do. And it always made it really intriguing, like for a lot of reasons because of that. And then seeing these on the shelf and being just enamored and in awe with some of these images I was seeing, I was so drawn to it. And finally, when I got to watch them for the first time, it felt like it was something that like these didn't feel like any movie I'd ever seen before, ever. And even though some of these like Evil Dead, like it was gory and gruesome and stuff, but it had comedic elements, but it really did feel like something I had never seen in my life. Like, I went from watching like Wayne's World to freaking Evil Dead 2. It's a big, change, so it really did. And even though there
Yeah.
was a lot of like gateway stuff that I loved because I'd always had a thing for horror stuff, like when it came to either toys or video games, I was always drawn to it. But starting to see things like X-Files and Are You Afraid of the Dark every week were really ramping me up into like getting into full-fledged like horror stuff. So it was always there, and that got to a point where my mom was like, I started to get into Hitchcock. So of course
Okay.
she
Yep.
was kind of like started to be okay with that. Like, okay, you can watch The Birds, and all right, you can watch Psycho. And then
Which
I
is
started to
terrifying in its
tape
own
stuff
way.
off TV. Yeah, like, then she started to let me tape horror movies off television because she's like, all right, everything I don't want him to see will probably be cut out anyways. So that's how I built a lot of my collection was off TV horror.
Oh,
which
okay.
at the time when I got rid of my horror collection or whatever, I remember I think I tossed all those tapes because I was like, why am I going to want made for TV cut versions when when I have the real one? So all those were trashed. And I look back now and I said, I would almost rather have all those because there's so much gold that's probably on there, either like different scenes or even just watching the commercials at the
Yep.
time. Like it would have been sick. But I totally regret getting rid of both my VHS collections, all the stuff off TV and the stuff I bought. But that's kind of like my gateway into horror. And that's why to me, all these movies felt like stuff I shouldn't have been watching.
For sure. And then looking back, do you guys feel like the practical effects hold up, stop motion, gore, all that, or do you feel like it's more charmingly nostalgic when you go back and you watch some of these films?
I think a lot of it still holds up.
Hmm.
And the stuff that doesn't is charming and nostalgic, you know, like the stop motion stuff. Stop motion never holds up.
But I love it
to varying degrees.
But you love it, yeah.
I do, because it feels creepy, you know, like even though it doesn't it doesn't flow well because it's so like, you know, weirdly done. It feels creepy as shit, you know, when she's in the out the window rolling the head around and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
Yep.
it just really stop motion. I love it because it just feels very like there's something not right, and I feel like it's so
I
as
agree.
bad as it looks, it feels creepy as shit, you know.
Well, speaking of creepy as shit, I got another one for you guys. Got Reanimator.
Damn it, dude! You got all this good
Yes.
stuff. Did you buy my VHS collection like in 2008?
I know.
I feel like in another
you-
life I did.
Did you give me $80 in a parking lot? And I handed you 3 trash bags full of tapes. Was that you?
And so where did you guys like discover this film? Was it earlier on or when you were getting a little bit deeper into horror movies?
That was an uncle must watch for me.
Yeah,
So
that was
one of the
definitely
ones
earlier
that
on for me as well.
yeah, that was one of the first ones I got into because he said, this is one of the best, and then gave me that exact tape and said, take it. Because he at that point had bought the DVD. So he was like, here, take the tape. And
That's sick.
that's when I fell in love with it. And then I sold it.
Yeah.
Now, do you guys remember seeing this like you go to the video store? Do you remember seeing it on the shelf for the first time, or do you remember anything about the cover art when you initially had a chance to see it there, even if you didn't pick it up, maybe just in passing?
I actually don't remember that cover art at the store.
Me either. I mean, it probably was, but for some reason it just didn't stand out like other ones did for me. I probably just kind of walked right by it, not thinking anything of it. I probably didn't even notice there was a head in the plate. Like I probably just saw a guy with a doctor coat and kept walking. And then I really didn't get a good look at it or knew anything about what Reanimator was until my uncle handed me that tape and said, here, this is one of the best horror movies ever made. And when I watched it, I was like, oh, shit, he's right.
Well, because honestly, for what a great horror movie that is, that cover art isn't as grabbing as some of the other ones are. It could have been better.
I think compared,
I
agree, because I think compared to some of the other ones we mentioned, oddly enough, I don't feel like it does the film justice.
Yeah, I don't either.
You know, you're not really promised anything too crazy, but I feel like it's more so you like really have to pay attention to what's actually on the cover to kind of connect the dots. But
I definitely appreciate it more now when you really look at it than when I did back then, because when you really look at it, like you said, it didn't do it justice, I think, on a walk by. But when you look at it and you're like, oh my God, there's a head in the plate. There's a guy behind him that you barely can see in the picture.
Yeah.
And, I think it really, like, now I love that image. I'm almost like, I would love to have this poster on my wall. And back then it just felt like a random image of a doctor or a scientist or whatever on the front. But, I think I've gained a big appreciation for that image now than I did even when I had that VHS in my collection.
For sure. Now, are there certain scenes for you guys or practical effects that stood out the most that were like memorable or shocking from when you guys watched it?
Probably just like the head.
I knew you were going to say you sicko.
The head.
Yeah.
I remember my biggest one. The takeaway is the cat scene. That's the one that I remember the most. When they were bringing that thing back to life, and they're like, he's like, why is it making that noise? Its back's broken. Like that.
Oh, it's
That is
gnarly.
the scene that was like really crazy to me, you know. And then obviously all the other stuff Mel was talking about.
Do you guys well, that too, yes. Now do you guys lean more towards, like, Reanimator or From Beyond? Do you guys prefer one over the other? Or maybe on rewatchability, I guess?
I prefer
I rewatch
Reanimator, but From
Reanimator
Beyond
more.
is great too,
Yeah,
though.
For
they're
sure.
both very good, but yeah, I would say Reanimator for me as well.
And then how do you guys feel about, like, Herbert West as a character? Do you think that he's more of, like, the mad scientist, anti-hero, or just straight up terrifying?
He's just a
I think
wild man.
anti-hero. Yeah, I think he's a great character. Actually, I think he's an important character in horror that I feel like does get overlooked a lot.
For
He's not
sure.
he's not a slasher. He's not a killer. He's different, you know. And I think he is the kind of like that anti-hero where
I
you're
think
not
he
sure
thinks
where
he's a hero, but I think he's
Yes.
psychotic.
I agree. I think how he views everything is that in his head, it makes sense, and he justifies it in his own obscure way, but in reality, everyone else sees around him that what he's doing is, like,
He's a
morally not right.
madman.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's funny though, because like when you see him and the other two, like they do feel like as much as they butt heads that they're friends and that like he cares about them like friends, where they're kind of like, oh, this guy's kind of okay, but he's a little wacky. But he, I think, looks at them as friends. Like
Well,
that's what I
madmen
the way.
can have normal relationships, but they're still
Yeah, true.
bad.
Yeah. And then with Reanimator, did you hear anything about this movie beforehand through, like, rumors or, like, word of mouth hype from friends of yours or anyone in your circle?
Just my uncle
Just the
saying one of the
monster.
best. Watch it. That's it.
Yeah. um And then how do you think, like, maybe fans at the time reacted to this movie compared to other gory 80s horror movies like Evil Dead 2, maybe even, let's say, Dead Alive, for example?
I mean, to me, this was always, you know, top tier because that's what I was told. So in my head, I always thought this was like one of the greatest horror movies ever and everybody loves it. I do think people appreciate it as one of the best, but I also think Reanimator is funny because it's one of those movies that gets a lot of hype, like when it's either on an anniversary or it's out, like it gets a new release, like everybody's like talking about it as the
For
greatest
sure.
thing. But then when there's not anything, it just dies. Like nobody talks about Reanimator for a long time, and then all of a sudden it gets a new release, and everybody's like, "Oh my god, Reanimator!" And it's like, you know, I would always think that that movie would be a little bit more loved, like all the time,
I was
than
gonna
just
say, I
like
feel
this.
like
I can see
Reanimator
that.
gets overshadowed by Dead Alive. Like if you're putting them like as a
Ooh,
comparison, people gravitate towards Dead Alive as like one of the craziest off the wall, goriest movies ever when you're comparing the two. Like Reanimator gets overshadowed a lot, I feel like.
I was gonna say, because was Dead Alive, for you guys, not to get off topic, but I felt like that one was always harder to find in the
I
video
did
store.
grab that one, but I don't have the VHS. I have the DVD. This
Fair
is
enough.
another one of those covers where you were like,
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that was one I rented
that's
for
iconic.
sure
yeah,
when it came
iconic
out on
cover.
either DVD or Blu-ray or VHS at the store, and
Yeah.
based on the cover. And I that was another one I had to bring my brother into the room and say, "You got to watch this with me," because it was so out there. It was like I've never seen it before. That's another one that blends the comedy and horror really well, and it really is a lot more comedic, but it really works. You know, like I kick ass for the
100%.
Lord. You know, it's like a karate priest or whatever. Like, I mean, that's not normal like that, but it worked for me, and it always has. And I think Dead Alive is a fantastic blend, and the gore was just off the charts. And I think it's
Absolutely.
a great flick. It just does everything right. And it's funny because, like you said, I do think that's one that not many people I thought knew about. But now, you know, when you bring that up and being on social media, you feel like that one's talked about more than Reanimator is ever.
Mm-hmm. It
I could see
definitely
it.
is.
I could see it. And then speaking of one that's been talked about, got Night of the Creeps.
Great one. That I saw way later.
Okay.
Way later. Like, I didn't see that until it was out on Actually, I bought a bootleg DVD of that at a horror convention because it was one that always was brought up as like a lost gem because it was a long time that thing was not available. And on DVD or anything. So it was always looked at as a lost gem. And I finally was at a horror convention. Someone had a bootleg DVD, it said enhanced quality. So I bought it and fell in love with the movie.
Yeah.
And that was probably, I don't know, that could have been like 2005 maybe when I saw that for the first time.
Yeah, this is another one that I remember renting, but it took me a long time, obviously, like with it being a little bit harder to track down. I mean, it took me a long time to ever come back and revisit it. Um, and I don't know. I mean, do you guys feel like that this film gets enough love or is talked about enough?
I'm shocked that it gets as much love as it does now because
Yeah,
I still, Scream Factory puts it out. Everybody's like, Night of the Creeps. And I'm like, wow, I feel like it gets more love for a movie that like literally once I got that DVD, that bootleg, I was like the only person I knew that like ever watched it. So it's strange that it is getting a lot of, and I think it deserves it. I think it does blend that comedy and horror. To me, that feels like a teen movie with horror elements in it.
for sure.
And like a teen comedy basically with horror elements. I think I love that movie a lot.
Same here.
I don't know what Mel's thoughts are on the Creeps though. I don't think we've ever talked about it.
Yeah, where are you at, Mel?
Well, it was one of those movies where it was like my momster loved it and she used to watch it and I watched it a couple times, but it wasn't one of my favorites, so I didn't really appreciate it when I was younger. I didn't appreciate it until I watched it when I was older. So it's not one of those nostalgic ones for me, I guess. But my mom liked it a lot.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
When you rewatched it, did it bring back memories? Because your mom used to always get so mad and be like, Mel's out there screaming like Banshee.
Upon rewatch, it brought back memories of mom quoting the movie annoyingly and me being like, shut up, mom.
Screaming like Banshee. And you're like, I'm just laughing, mom.
Damn. What about the VHS cover made you want to pick this up or rent it in whatever format?
It's definitely an iconic cover, that's for sure.
It's so creepy.
Yeah, the artwork that I had on that first DVD I saw at on that bootleg that I bought was like the one with the hand like opening the door. I don't know if you've ever seen that image.
Oh, yes. Yep.
So that's what the cover of the bootleg DVD that I had for a long time before that thing was officially released. And then when it was released, I did a video on this too, actually. They ended up using a real shit image, and they actually had it was that DVD was so hyped up because it was finally coming out that they did this whole like promotional thing where they said, you guys get to pick the cover, and they gave you 3. And I did a whole video talking about that because it was crazy. So then you went on this website and you clicked the one you wanted. Then at the end, it's like, number 3 won, and then that's the one they used.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And then on a Blu-ray, they used what came in like second place or something like that. And then when I went to a Night of the Creeps reunion and got my poster signed, and one of the guys actually had a DVD with no disc in it, but it was of one of the other covers that didn't win. So like I have in my collection like the cover that won, and then like the other cover that they must have just had extras for because it didn't end up getting released or whatever. So
you've met Tom Atkins, right?
Oh yeah.
Super nice guy.
Yeah, so nice.
I wish I would have gotten this signed. I think at the time I just had Halloween 3. I got signed by him. Now, would you guys consider this like it has the feel of more of a hidden gem in the horror section, or do you think it's more like widely recommended among like horror fans?
I would say hidden gem. I mean, at least back then. Now, I mean, maybe it's a little bit more loved, but again, sometimes you don't know because in social media, everybody can be excited about something, but then, if you ask people about it, 8 out of the 10 people might have actually never seen it, but
for sure,
it's hard to talk
about it, so that's what's hard. It's like, it seems in theory that everybody loves it and knows all about it, but I don't know, who has seen it or not.
Yeah.
But definitely back then it felt like a hidden gem because it took me a long time, I felt like, even in my collecting years, to actually get to see this thing for the first time.
Well, it sounds like, I mean, you really had to go out of your way to find it just in general too. So now, were there certain scenes that genuinely scared you guys when you had a chance to watch it?
I wouldn't say
particularly
scared.
find this movie that scary.
Yeah, but like, you know, the Atkins character was so good, you know, like the thrill me remark, like
Yeah.
it's stuck with me because I thought it was such a random thing to say. And what is the other line he would always say? Like, I don't know, what do you say? What was he expecting? Bullwinkle moose? Like, I mean, it's just like he would say like the randomest shit.
Yeah.
And he kept saying it throughout the movie, like in all these scenes, and you're kind of like, I kind of like this character, but he's kind of annoying at the same time. But I don't know. I think it's a fantastic character. It just really works.
I just remember when he says the good news is your date's here, bad news is they're dead.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Now, do you feel like
Perfect.
the practical effects make the gore and creatures feel more realistic, or does it feel like cartoonish when you go back and watch it?
I liked the practical effects in this one.
I think they've aged well.
Yeah, I think
Mhm.
so.
Yeah.
And then, did you guys feel, or how effective is the film at building suspense before delivering the horror moments? Do you think they did a nice job at building that up?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think this one is one that also falls in that comedic horror. So like, it was the anticipation was there, but I found it like is in the same vein as like I find Killer Clowns. Like I think it's
Okay.
just it's not to me it's not scary, but I mean it's just kind of like again we talked about Return of the Living Dead. Like it's just cool. Like there's just a lot of what's going on that I like. It could be from a horror element, a comedic element, or like you know it feels like I'm watching like a John Hughes movie with friggin' slugs and you know blowtorches and shit. So I
Yeah.
mean it kind of works at all angles for me. And that's what made me fall in love with it. It's like I didn't know what to expect when I saw it. I didn't know if it was going to be gory, if it was going to be scary, but then when I watched it, I just felt like I had like a thrill ride throughout the whole thing and I just fell in love with it.
Well, speaking of a thrill ride, figured now is a good time to discuss the 90s gem Rumpelstiltskin.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Mel and I were
Rump.
talking about this before you hopped on. Just pretty wild to me that this movie has gotten the love that I feel like it deserves.
Yeah, it
4K no less.
sure.
Yeah.
It's mind-blowing and I think it really just shows how powerful physical media can be. That this
Absolutely.
movie has gotten this much love. This movie was a movie that didn't get love when it came out, didn't get love on DVD,
No.
went way out of print and never saw the light of day for many, many years. And it just became one of those movies. People didn't really talk about it, but it was always one of those
No.
movies of, you know, oh, that Rumpelstiltskin movie. Yeah, that DVD is real hard to find. Like that was all you really heard about it. As far as people saying, but I love that movie. I never once heard that until this was announced from TerraVision
Yeah.
and prettied up and given all this special treatment that people started to be like, all right, Rumpel. And I guarantee a lot of people probably bought that and watched this for the first time. 100% because it was like I had never heard anybody really mention it until they dropped it. And for me, I always liked it, but as a collector, I was excited because I sold my Rumpelstiltskin DVD for a lot of money because in my head
okay.
I was kind of like, this will come out again. You know, I can get $150 for this on DVD, and I'm like, okay. I did the same thing with Dead Alive. I sold the Blu-ray because I had the DVD, and I'm like, well, I can get $100 for this Blu-ray. I might as well just do it. The Scream Factory will pull it out, you know, but it still hasn't come out yet.
I know.
But
I'm like, and we're still waiting.
but that's the power, though, of like physical media is that they can take these movies that have lost, you know, that are lost basically, and pretty them up and give them a new life. Like Fright Night 2 is going to get so much more new life. It's going to be
just
insane.
wait. Just wait.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be
It's-
crazy because it's a good movie and nobody's seen it because it's just been so lost for so long and you can't find it. And if you can do that with Rumpelstiltskin, that this thing's sitting in Walmart, I mean, you can do that with anything. You know?
I feel like it's going to be the same case with Prom Night 2. You're going to get
100%.
everyone coming out of the woodwork saying, oh, I've been the biggest Prom Night 2 fan for the longest time.
Mhm.
And it'll be interesting. But do you guys remember seeing Rumpelstiltskin on the shelf at the video store in like the 90s, when I felt like it was a video store staple? I mean, we were talking about this earlier, that cover art just terrified me when I was younger. I mean,
Mhm.
I don't know if it quite lives up to that necessarily with how scary it is, but
Yeah, definitely not.
I mean, to me, this felt like a R-rated Are You Afraid of the Dark episode. That's what this felt like to me
Yeah.
as a kid. It was fun as hell. I prefer this over Leprechaun personally.
Same.
And I'm glad it's gotten life. I'm glad more people to get to see it. I'm shocked that it didn't do better when this came out. After watching it again. And
I mean, I can see why it didn't.
but Leprechaun was,
It's
but I
cheesy
feel
as
like
hell,
Leprechaun was
dude.
so huge though. Like
Leprechaun was
huge.
more of a realistic classic horror movie. This was like a cheesy, ridiculous thrill ride. Like this movie was not meant to be taken seriously.
There's nothing better than seeing him behind the wheel of an 18-wheeler.
Yeah,
with freaking sunglasses
Yeah.
on, and he's
Dude,
like
kill it,
laughing.
dude.
I'm like,
and
that's
stuff, like-
definitely my vibe.
like this is like my kind of movie.
Yep. Now, how would you guys say, so obviously there was a lot of movies available to rent in the horror section at the time. How do you think that this one stood out? Like, did you feel like leans more on the fantastical side or campy, or is it more on like the gruesome side of things?
I think it's definitely more campy.
more campy,
For
but I was drawn to it by the name because obviously I know the name from the fairy tale.
Mhm.
So that's why I was drawn to it, because I was like, oh wow, this is a horror movie based on a fairy. Like it was something I was familiar with. So I didn't see this in the theater or anything like that. I remember renting it. That's when I saw it for the first time, and I think the reason was because of the name and being like, oh, it's this but a horror movie. Okay, I'm gonna check this out.
And
I think it was
then,
the cover for me.
oh yeah,
Yeah, I was definitely drawn in by the cover, and then like that image on the back. Look at him.
terrifying. I think I have like PTSD from seeing this like too early at the video store or something, but
But it was like he has nose piercings and stuff. I was like,
He's like you.
I didn't have those when I was a kid. Okay.
No, but you told me that's why you got them, because you loved that image of him so much as a kid. You said someday.
Oh,
when
Jesus Christ.
You looked at the back and you went, someday I'm gonna look like this fucking guy.
Oh my god.
Right. I'm gonna sharpen my teeth.
Life goals, I guess.
Bite your ass.
Yeah. Well, would you say that there's like certain scenes in the movie, like whether it's like him being mischievous or like the murders that take place in it? Do you feel like some are more memorable or shocking to you guys when you saw it?
Him on the motorbike. That's
Yeah,
basically what I remember. the most.
100%.
For sure. And then,
Oh my god.
do you feel like the film is effective at blending like the dark fairy tale elements with horror? Do you feel like it's like strikes a nice contrast?
Yeah,
Okay.
I do. Especially with all the stuff we're getting now with like Bambi's and all this other stuff. I feel like this was something like early that kind of did it right,
It felt like it was kind of ahead of the time when it came to like the subject matter in a way. Just kind
Agreed.
of like
Oh yeah,
approach.
a little too early.
Mm-hmm.
And then last thing I wanted to ask on it, did you guys feel like the VHS cover made it seem scarier or more outrageous than it actually was?
No, I mean, I don't know. I think it kind of depicts the movie a little bit. Shows his face with his nose piercing. He has his mouth
highlight
open
of
like
the
he does
movie.
pretty much throughout the entire movie.
You should reenact this image on the front, Mel.
Should I be this for Halloween?
Oh
you should
my
just
god!
you should just put your head like in like a door or something, and just see the little.
Oh
nose thing
god! We're speaking into existence, Garrett.
Try to get those sunglasses and everything.
Right, I'm gonna do it. Okay.
I love it. You have a bunch. You have like all the merch and stuff, don't you? Didn't they come with sunglasses?
Mel, I'm holding you to this.
I have like the bib and shit.
God. And then last but not least, so I don't have this one to display, so hopefully you guys can come through with the assist. But another video store staple that I wanted to mention was Monkey Shines.
Woo!
I got you.
Hell yeah.
That
There we go.
that image, man. That's
one I
of
need
the
in the
other ones I
collection.
was talking about.
Lies.
Oh, you don't have Monkey Shines?
I don't.
Oh,
I
wow,
need
I'm
to.
surprised.
I need
Oh.
to add in the collection. I got it on 4K, but not on VHS.
Yeah, that image is in the same story of the Return of the Living
Lies.
Dead. That was one I saw at my mom's work. as I was sitting there waiting for her to do whatever, that thing was sitting there, and I was just staring at it, being like, "What the hell is this movie with right there?"
I
And
swear
me
it's
and Mel talked about it on our movies that lied VHS cover art that lied, because looking at that, you thought you were getting a toy monkey killer.
yep.
I wanted a toy monkey.
You were getting a real monkey killer. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, it's classic iconic image right there.
Like,
It really
this cover
is.
ruined the movie for me when I was younger. So I rented this movie because I wanted this toy monkey. Because one of my favorite movies when I was younger was Dolls, right?
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah, great
I
choice.
rented that movie all the time, and I loved the killer dolls. So when I saw this, I was like, I want a killer doll monkey. And it wasn't that. So I hated this movie. And then it wasn't until recently that I gave it a rewatch. What did I watch this for? Was it for our
Because I probably
monkey?
told you to for our monkey video.
Our
Yeah,
monkey video.
yeah.
And I absolutely loved it. So then I was like,
I feel
oh
you,
no.
Yeah.
I spent my whole life hating this movie, and it's great.
Monkey Shine's got another fan.
Yeah.
Now, did you guys feel like just initial impressions, did you guys feel like this was a straight up horror film or more of a psychological thriller?
I mean, at the time, I probably just assumed horror because I wasn't that deep into subgenre and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So I was just like, scary movie. Like, that's kind of basically it was scary movie or comedy or action. Like, those are the three that I really broke everything down in. So to me, it was horror movie all day. But it's a really well done movie. I think it's one of Romero's most underrated gems. And when I met Romero, I had him sign my Monkey Shines one sheet, and like the his eyes lit up, because I mean, it was one of those things when I meet people, I like to try to get something signed that's a little bit out of the box. Like when I met Alicia Silverstone, I had her sign a Crush poster. Like, I'm sure that's probably not the normal
For sure.
one sheet that comes across her table. Everything's, clueless, I'm sure. So like the same
Good
thing with
call.
him, it's like, out of all of his classic films, I mean, how many people are walking up to him with a Monkey Shines one sheet? And when I did, he looked at me and went, Monkey Shines. Like, he was like so excited, like to have it there.
Look
Like
at you, Garrett. You made it stay.
when I met Peter Weller, I had him sign a firstborn item. Like, I mean, he wanted to talk to
Smart.
me about it all day, because he's like, well, Jesus, all I'd see is RoboCop every day.
Yeah.
So to have him see that, he was like, he wanted to start up a conversation about it. But same thing, I really do think that it's a movie that I still don't think a lot of people talk about it, even when it has gotten new releases. Like, I still feel it falls short into movies that people continue to talk about. It's different.
The Dark Half is another one that I felt like for the longest time, it just is never in the conversation as far as movies he's done. Hopefully the 4K definitely put a little bit more shine on it. But now, were there certain scenes in this movie that you guys felt like were the most frightening or memorable for you guys?
I mean, I think his relationship with the monkey, and like, seeing that poor guy and being what he was, and having to blow in that thing to move around or whatever.
Mhm.
Like, it's crazy. Did he blow in it, or did he have to move the thing with the joystick with his mouth? I don't remember what he had to do, but
Yeah, I don't
It
remember.
was weird.
but even when you
I
look
felt
at the
bad
back
for him.
cover, and I don't know if it's on the VHS, but I know it was on the DVD, and you see the monkey like this with like the switchblade in his hand. It's like that. Yeah, like
Here,
it's
hold
that
on.
image like right there that you're kind of like, oh shit, like, yeah, right there.
But look at this
That's
one.
no joke.
All right, this one.
Yeah,
Oh
What?
God.
you have that dude from Mad About You in it.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, so I think that there's, as far as classic scenes like this, just the idea that they had a trained monkey that could do this is enough for me to just love it, because it's like that must have been hard to do. I mean, you can get, footage of sharks swimming around or whatever and kind of splice things together, but you're having a monkey like a knife in its hand and stuff. It's
Yeah.
hard to do all that.
But it's
Oh, I can
also
al-
kind of sad too, because it's like the monkey really loved him.
Yeah, you're just
Yeah.
protective.
Yeah.
Now, how did you guys feel like the psychological horror aspect compared to, I would say probably around this time in the 80s? I mean, we had a lot of like gory movies or slasher films. How do you feel like it stacked up to the other movies that were coming out?
To me, it felt more like just a lost gem. Like, it still doesn't feel like it fits in with the big boys, but
Yeah.
it's one of those ones where I feel like I like that I like it so much because I do feel like it's one that like people just kind of dismiss. And so when I can kind of talk it up to other people that maybe need to give it another chance, it feels good. Like I still don't think it's gonna revel with like the big guns, but
For sure.
it's definitely one that I think more people need to just keep their eye on. And speaking of that, Mel for Christmas got me the Umbrella release. I mean, Jesus, they gave that
Oh,
movie
that's
so
sick.
much love with that thick box and all that stuff. Like I didn't want it because I'm like, I've got this movie on Blu-ray, I've got it on DVD, I got a VHS, and I kept going back to Umbrella, be like, I'll get it. And then I'm like, nah, I don't need it.
I know.
I'm like, yeah, but they gave it all this love that I'll never get again. I can't believe it. And then I was like, nah. Then when I finally went to go back and do it, it sold out. And I was like, shit, I screwed myself. Like I just should have pulled the trigger. And I think I was bitching about it to her or something one day.
He bitched about it.
You don't want to hear about it anymore.
On like 20 of his live streams too.
So, the idea that a company like that gave a movie that is so kind of tossed to the side all that love, like it like I wanted it just because I'm like, you'll never get this kind of treatment again, so I want to have it in my collection.
Totally.
And then I got a 4K like
and then I got a 4K like a month later.
Thank you for your sacrifice, Garrett.
Yeah.
And then
Mel's money.
Damn it.
And then lastly, I was going to say, how do you guys feel like this? There's obviously psychological tension in this movie. How do you feel like that this holds up today compared to, I would say, like maybe more modern thrillers or creature features that we get?
I think it's great because I feel like the stuff we get now they'll fake it till they make it kind of thing. They're not using real animals really, for this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And I think the charm of that is gone. You either get something that's computer animated or
well, God, they can't really
AI or whatever.
True.
Like, so I just feel like that charm is gone. And I actually saw a video yesterday about Hollywood going in a lot more AI route and just to save money and digital stuff. And they said that Ghostbusters, it might have been Afterlife or like the Frozen Empire, that literally like that whole New York City was all green screen. And I'm like, if that's what they're doing, where you're basically having these actors walk around a big studio with a green screen and then they just put the city behind them. I'm like, no wonder why these movies don't feel the same. Like, even though it looks great, there's a feeling of it doesn't feel right.
It doesn't feel authentic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I think that's why it's these guys aren't in the street of New York City. They're on a sound stage with a green screen behind it. It looks nice, but it doesn't feel like genuine. There's something about it that's either too polished or something when you're watching these movies that it just doesn't have that same connection with me. And I think that's probably why. It's like it looks so real, but there's something about it that your mind is telling you there's something wrong here. But you can't put your finger on what it is. It doesn't have that same feeling than if they were really walking around the city. Like, and that's crazy that they're doing this, and it's just because of money. And I feel like if they don't go the opposite way, I don't know, I just don't feel like Hollywood will ever be the same again.
It's kind of disheartening when you hear that. It's I feel like some of that movie magic is lost because you're cutting all these corners, for, I don't know, the sake of probably just streamlining things a little bit more, or, saving money in certain areas. But I think that's, I think in time, you're going to see some of these movies that aren't going to age as well, or it's going to be a little bit more obvious that these were, I don't know, just there's not that level of effort and creativity that's being put into them, sadly. So
it feels like manufactured, basically.
Yes.
Like from, that's kind of what it feels. And I see that Nubbin said disconnect. And I think that's what it is. There is a disconnect with the viewer in the movie, even though you say Ghostbusters and Dan Aykroyd and I'm all in. But then all of a sudden when I'm watching it, I said, it's cool, but there's something off. There is a disconnect there.
Absolutely.
And I think it's what it is.
Well, there's a number of other video store staples that I eventually want to get to with you guys. I would love to maybe do a part.
Want to do a part two?
Part two?
Oh.
A sequel?
That would be awesome.
I didn't get to all of mine, so.
Well, okay, we'll definitely do a sequel. I'm down for that, for sure.
Okay.
100%. And I'll come more prepared with like other stuff too.
This will give you time, Garrett. You'll be able to get your stack together.
100%.
And then Mel, we need to reload and we'll come back for the sequel. So I just want to take the
Okay.
time to thank both of you guys for joining me tonight on After Dark. So where can viewers find you both at? Do you guys have anything coming up that you want to promote?
Go ahead, Mel. What you got?
I was gonna say, go ahead, Garrett, because I got nothing. I'm Mel from My Killer Podcast. Follow me everywhere. Thank you.
All right, I'm
Thanks
Garrett
for
from
having me on. I
Born2BeRad.
appreciate it.
Of course. I had a blast with you guys.
You can follow me anywhere at Born2BeRad. And right now, if you're bored, head over to my channel at Born2BeRad because I'm going to jump live on my channel to go on the live Vinegar Syndrome sale. So we're going to go on there, check out what they got, probably do some live buying. So if you want to hang out with the chat, it's going to be a multi-stream. So definitely come check it out because we usually have a blast there and that chat is going to get pretty wild. So definitely pop on over. I'll be going live in probably like 2 minutes.
I'm excited for that. I'm going to hop on, check that out here after we get done. And as always, Steven here. You can find me at After Hours Video. I'm on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, you name it. Actually have a Beyond the Blood interview with author David Sodergren that's going to be going live tomorrow. Super pumped for that. And then we actually have a Texas Chainsaw Massacre ranking episode of Beyond the Blood coming up soon. So be on the lookout for that. And then thanks for joining us on After Dark, where the scares never sleep. We'll catch you guys in the next one.
Thanks, Steven.
See you guys.